Welcome to Engaging Companies in Climate Advocacy. I am pleased to introduce Randy Salim. Randy has worked in senior management of media, internet, and nonprofit companies. He lived in the Philippines and Hong Kong, where he led the business development efforts for the Economist Intelligence Unit, which is part of the Economist Group in Asia. In 1996, he joined Yahoo as the first business development director, where he was involved in a variety of distribution, content, and international partnerships. Randy is a certified Waldorf grades teacher. He is a ceramic artist, an avid surfer, and a father concerned about stewarding the earth for future generations. Since his days as an economics student at the University of Michigan, Randy has believed that pollution needs to be properly accounted for, a belief that has led to his work with Citizens Climate Lobby and business climate leaders. Please welcome Randy Salim.
Hi, everybody. Really nice to be here, Robin. Thank you very much. Appreciate all the seamless work you've done in getting me here. So really nice to be here with everybody. I just wanted to do a quick raise of hands to see who is brand new to hearing about business climate leaders. Raise your hand. Okay, at least half. And how many of you have actually engaged, talked to companies about CCL? Fantastic. All right. Well, on with the show. So let me share my screen here. All right. Thank you. Sorry about that, everybody.
Yes.
There's my little puppy who's now a big guy, and I don't know how he ended up getting in the office. So excuse me for that. So we're going to talk about how we engage business within CCL. So first of all, a quick introduction to business climate leaders, who we are, what we do, and how we can help you. Why getting businesses engaged is important, and how we actually go about engaging business, and how you can go from engaging a company, from targeting, prospecting a company, to making first contact, to actually meeting with the company and getting them to advocate for us. And then we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. So business climate leaders, we are an action team of Citizens Climate Lobby. We're part of the Grass Tops Outreach Lever. We support you. We are here to support CCL volunteers to engage with businesses, both big and small. And we're all about building long-term relationships. Just as we do with Congress, we're looking to build long-term relationships with companies. So in terms of why to engage businesses, this is from Jim Hansen on the climate science side, you know, a hero of many of ours and the godfather of Citizens Climate Lobby, who said, "It's the captains of industry who can get us through the climate crisis." I've met with them. They have children and grandchildren and want to be part of the solution. So businesses offer a lot. So when we go in to talk to members of Congress, they say, well, what companies, what businesses support what you guys are doing? And the reason for that is businesses have influence with members of Congress. Of course, they are the job creators in our economy. They have credibility in economic issues. So if it makes dollars and cents to them, then Congress people can be like, rest assured that, okay, I'm okay, that's gonna make sense. They're problem solvers. We have this huge problem of a climate issue. Business people are all about solving problems and maximizing solutions. And of course, they already have relationships with members of Congress. They're always talking to them, be it on immigration issues, be it on healthcare issues, and we want to get them engaged in talking about climate. And of course, they are the leading donors to our members of Congress. So here's a great quote of it actually working, of actually companies now stepping up to the plate around climate. So this is from the CEO of Walmart, who happens to be the chair of the Business Roundtable. Some of you may have heard this recently. It's a group of 200 CEOs of leading companies, all from Levi's to Coke and Pepsi, to Walmart, of course, to Exxon. And they just issued this incredible policy statement that said, and here's a quote kind of alluding to it, "Climate change is one of the greatest challenges facing the planet today. And we believe businesses are an essential part of the solution." Representing more than 200 CEOs from America's leading companies, the new Business Roundtable position on climate change reflects our belief that a national market-based emissions reduction policy is crucial to reducing greenhouse gas emissions to levels designed to avoid the worst effects and mitigate the impacts of climate change. So here you have it. Businesses are actually raising their voice already and saying, we need action. And a great movement, the fundamental piece toward that is getting a price on pollution. So how do we engage with businesses, business climate levers? There's a couple kind of key areas that we focus on. One is on the left here, our national sector teams, which we have, which I'll show you a list of them, which are targeting from automotive to chemical, large multinational companies across who are big players across the US. Secondly is supporting you at the local chapter level with our local grasstops outreach teams of talking to small and medium-sized companies. And then we have a steering committee of mostly retired business people within Business Climate Leaders that we meet every week, and we coordinate and strategize and kind of pull together the pieces that we need to support you guys. These are some of the main sectors that we focus on, everything from agriculture, health and medical, transportation, retail, etc. So if you have big companies in your area that you want to approach, then there's probably a sector team here that can support you and help you with providing expertise, presentations, and also just kind of resources in that industry. We also have these very targeted segments of industries. Within the food and beverage industry, we actually have a declaration for brewers. We have a declaration for the wine industry. We have a declaration around seafood. And what these are is they're very specific areas of like, okay, brewers, I'll show you what this looks like. Brewers, climate is a big impact on you. It's impacting the price of and availability of hops, of barley. So why don't you as a group come together, support what we're doing, and raise your voice in that way. And you'll see here, and if you go down to the bottom here, you'll see a list of 202 breweries right now. I think it might be 203 right now, but across the US that have supported the Brewers Declaration as well as the EIA. It includes the Energy Innovation Act. Healthcare professionals, we've just ramped that up. We have now over 800 doctors, nurses, medical technicians that support the work we're doing. We just launched a program, carbon-free energy, solar, wind companies, and we're looking at real estate, maybe a couple other sectors. So these are easy, kind of already packaged things that you can go out to solar companies in your area, a brewer in your area, a wine grower or winemaker in your area. And of course, it's easier to get a winery on board if you can say, hey, these are 85 other wineries that agree with what we're doing and are supporting us. So what are we asked for when we're actually talking to companies? So like with members of Congress, when we're meeting with them, we think about what specifically do we want to ask for. So the big win is for them to personally express their support of the need for climate action, of its impact on their business and their employees, and the need for action, specifically around carbon pricing. So to get them to actually publicly or privately, they can join us for our meetings. Now that we actually do them virtually, it's a great opportunity to have a company or two or three to join in our meetings with the member of Congress. That's coming up in December, to bring people around in your district, companies around in your district that support what we're doing to show up. And even if they don't go all the way to say we support the Energy Innovation Act, but for them to say climate is really impacting us and we want you to do something about it, and ideally we would love for you to do something on carbon pricing and even something like the Energy Innovation Act. Okay. Of course, they can actually sign declarations like I showed you, the Brewers Declaration, or sign the Energy Innovation Act, which is great, because it helps us get other companies engaged. They can educate their employees, bring us into a brown bag lunch with their employees to talk about climate, to talk about carbon pricing, introduce us to people in their business network, and of course, introduce us to other companies and trade organizations that they're involved in. And I'm going to give you all these slides so you can see, and there's actually a link here to other options as well. So how we start, it's great. Of course, you can do this on your own. You're more than welcome to talk to companies that you know, people you know, your brother or sister works at such and such a company. You can do that, but it's nice to go about it as a team. And a team just means, 2 people is a team, 3 people, 4 people. It doesn't have to be a big team. It's nice if you have somebody else that you can partner with. And we're happy at Business Climate Leaders to be part of your team. If you have a meeting with your brother who is in the solar industry and you want somebody to help that knows more about the solar industry or about the Energy Innovation Act, then we're happy to join you on those calls as well. In terms of developing a target list, I guess that's the starting point. It can relate to the people, as I mentioned, that you know. Obviously, those are the best. If you have a nice relationship and you can just call on somebody and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about this group that I'm involved in, that I'm passionate about, that I believe is really doing good things in moving the climate dialogue forward. That's great. You can, of course, look at who are donors to your member of Congress, who are the biggest employers in your district, where did your member of Congress go to school, and what kind of other alumni from that university might be engaged in the area, and specific trade organizations that you may have. If you're in Denver and you have, the ski industry is big, there may be some trade organization there. Or I know in Denver and Boulder, there's the Brewers Association that we're engaging, things like that. And we have as well a sample spreadsheet that you can use to organize yourself and your efforts there. Once you know who you want to talk to, do a bit of research. Most companies that have something on the web, if it's a big company, they'll have a statement about climate and the environment and sustainability and what they're doing. That's great information to have in terms of positioning, what we're doing, appreciating them. LinkedIn is a great source that I use all the time to search for people. If you know this local, tool and die shop, he or she who owns it might have a LinkedIn page and have a little bit more background on them. If it's a bigger company, you're looking at sustainability or government relations person who's most likely in LinkedIn. And kind of want to know what their competitors are doing too. It's great going into Pepsi if you know Coke is already a supporter of carbon pricing, for instance. There's a lot of great tools out there on the web to actually get emails. So if you go to LinkedIn and find a contact at a company, you can actually go to rocketreach.co or Viola Norbert, and you can actually put that person's name in, and you'll often get a personal email or a company email, and generally they're quite accurate. Okay, we have lots of samples of emails that you can use, of sample introductory emails, so you don't have to start from scratch. And as with everything, as with dealing with members of Congress, we really work on the 3 Ps, being really patient, polite, and persistent in our approach. Oftentimes it'll take 2 or 3 or 4 emails to get their interest. And every time it's sending them a little bit something different, this company's doing this, or did you see this new report from the Business Roundtable, et cetera. There's different things that keep them up to date. Oh, our chapter is doing this. Oh, our chapter would like to have our chapter meeting at your tap room, something like that. Different ways to connect. So I know we're kind of short on time, so I'm running through things quick, but wanted to take a breather there and open it up to all of you to see if there's some questions. And then from there, we'll kind of dive into a little bit more specifics about how to actually manage a meeting with an executive.
Randy,
Yeah.
Nick is taking questions. I was just going to ask Nick if he's had any come in yet.
Yeah, I have one so far. I'm looking for more, please, if anyone has any questions. A question from Anne asks, how does your role as a teacher influence your current work on climate change?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it, as being a father, you know, that's, I guess, why I really got into it and why I got into this, and a story that I would share, you know, in meeting with executives as well, is like, that's why I'm passionate about this work, because I'm really doing it and really see it. I love this beautiful world, and I want to have, I'm in California, and I hate being inside this past month because of wildfires, but my biggest concern is the kids kind of going forward and the world that we're leaving for them. So, and like with meeting with members of Congress, same with meeting with business leaders, like having that personal connection about why you're doing this work is a really important thing.
So, in your opinion, what are the best job titles to pursue at these large companies?
For large companies, I typically I'll search like on LinkedIn for Costco sustainability, and we'll see who comes up. Usually it's either in the sustainability group in a big company or in the government relations. The sustainability people are definitely, you know, in our court. We don't have to educate them on climate change and the need for action. They're already there. But they don't necessarily have in some cases they do. Some cases, some companies, the sustainability people are involved in government relations, but in a lot, they're not. That gets fed off to the government relations. So it's good to have relations with those people as well. So those tend to be the two groups. Obviously, if you can get up, even sometimes I've started with the CEO and I've just sent them a blind email, and that got passed down. And of course, that's great. Like, well, the CEO is asking this individual to meet with me or to look at what we're doing. So
very cool. All right, we'll do one more and then I'll let you get back.
Right,
do you have any tips for doing this kind of work during the, COVID and all the quarantine and stuff?
Yeah, I guess there's two sides to it. One is you really need to be sensitive to, you know, what the environment is in your area. For instance, when we were starting to push wineries, our friends in Long Island, back in March, April, they said, hey, you know, it's not time for us. There's too much going on with COVID. So we held off on that. So that's one side, just being sensitive. The other side, like us being here, everybody's operating virtually, and in a strange way, people are willing to kind of make a little bit of time for a 10-minute, 15-minute, you know, a Zoom meeting to talk about something different. And obviously, there's a really good case you can make for COVID, for the wildfires out west, for the hurricanes out east, for the flooding in the Midwest. There's a lot of rich, you know, tragedy going on that plays into this. You know, this is why I'm contacting you now, because we need to get on this, and we recognize when we don't listen to science and what we're seeing in front of us, the costs are, you know, exponentially more than dealing with this situation now.
It's a very interesting point. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So now you've connected with a company. They've said, hey, we're willing to meet. So how do you do that? So like with meeting a member of Congress, you kind of want to strategize. You want to think about, you know, how am I going to fit business climate leaders, CCL, the Energy Innovation Act? What is it? What are the key selling points? What are the leverage points with this company? You want to think about open-ended questions. You know, what do I want to ask of them and engage them? We want this to be a two-way dialogue. Also think about what can we appreciate about their company. Oh, hey, I just saw that you were part of, your company just signed on to this business roundtable, you know, commitment to act on climate change and carbon pricing. Or, wow, you know, I see that somebody just sent around that, you know, New Belgium just issued the first net zero beer. Fat Tire has gone net zero. So it's like, oh, that's fantastic that you guys are that committed and really doing that. Really appreciate that. And think about what we want to ask them. So if you're doing a meeting on your own, obviously you're going to take on all these roles. If you have 2 or more people, then you kind of figure you want to strategize who's going to do which piece. But these are kind of the key things that you want to make sure are taken care of. You know, somebody's going to be the lead in the meeting. That's typically the person that has the relationship or set up the call. So who's going to do the appreciation and what that's going to be. Somebody to ask time. You know, we want to be respectful. Hey, how much time do you have for our call today? And keep track of that. What we're going to ask and who's actually going to do the asking, and somebody to take notes. We want to make sure that we're keeping a good record of the meeting that we have. So in terms of strategizing going in with a company, I think that there are kind of 3 key areas, key leverage points with any executive. One is the moral side, which we were talking about in terms of me being a teacher and a dad. Like, executives are people too. And, you know, what is it that they may be concerned about climate? You know, either they've studied sustainability, or they have kids, or they just think that it's important, that it's something that we need to deal with. So that's an important piece. The business case, of course. What are the dollars and cents of it? Even if they believe in it passionately that we need to do something, they still within their organization need to make the case for, okay, if we have a carbon price, how much is that additional is going to cost my business, my product? How's that going to work out? Oh, there's a dividend piece to it. That's interesting. Is that going to draw more customers to me? How's that going to play out? So thinking about how to answer those elements and be able to hopefully make a compelling case for that. And the fact that, wow, this is going to happen. Our belief is there's going to be some legislation. It can be either be a regulatory type of regulation, or it can be a market-based approach. You know, if you're not engaged, if you're not at the table expressing what you think is the best approach and what's going to be the best for your company, then, you know, you're not going to be there and part of the discussion. So I'm going to throw this out to you guys. We're going to talk, if we were going to meet with a healthcare organization. I don't know, Nick and Robin, is it okay to unmute people? Can they just kind of shout out what their thoughts would be? What would be, if it's a healthcare organization, what would be some of the touch points that would be important about our work? What would be some of the things that we could talk about and mention to them as a benefit for them?
I just allowed everyone to unmute, so please go ahead.
Less air pollution, so less disease from that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anybody else?
Dividend would allow lower income people to address their health concerns more readily.
Yeah, that's great. I think the Remy, I'll just kind of click through here. I don't think I had that one in there, but yes, decrease in fossil fuels, less air pollution, less deaths, lower greenhouse gas, less warming, less health issues overall. And I think your point is, if you look at the Remy study, it actually shows that when people have more disposable income, healthcare is, I think, the top actually thing that people spend it on. Healthcare, and then consumables, food, you know, beer, things like that. How about if you were going to talk to a local brewer? What would be some of the things that would be important to them?
Food supply issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Water, the whole water deal. You know.
Yeah. Yep. Anybody else? One more?
People have more money to spend on beer.
Yeah, that as well. Exactly. How do I get rid of this here so you can see it?
I would think also possible competitive advantage, because that's an overcrowded field, the breweries.
So yes, definitely more predictable availability of their, of barley and hops, concern about the costs and concern about actually availability to those products. Absolutely, the biggest input into beer is water. So I know having clean water is a critical piece. So the more, algae blooms in the lakes, the more extreme weather, the less clean waters they're going to be. The cost, we've actually done a really cool cost analysis of what the cost impact would be on a bottle of beer. So basically having the EIA, the Energy Innovation Act, would lower emissions by whatever it is, 40% in 12 years. And the cost over those 12 years, it would be, at 10 years, it would be 4 cents a bottle. So a small cost for a huge impact. The dividend, yes, more consumer spending on that side. And competitive advantage, I think the beauty of having a nationwide plan, a federal plan, is that all companies, are in the same boat. There's not a competitive advantage in that way, but you can make it a competitive advantage if you are sustainable. The more renewable energy, the less carbon content in your bottle of beer, the less transportation cost, the less overall additional cost you're paying. How about a solar company?
Oh, lots of money. Clean up.
Yeah, so higher fossil fuel costs will just be a shorter return on investment for your customers. So instead of paying a higher gas bill, they're able to get that energy at a much cheaper cost. And how about for you Mountain Westers, a ski resort?
There'll be snow. They won't have to manufacture it snow.
Yep.
Would you ever bring up, or I don't know about bring up, but you certainly would want to strategize for that resort, saying we're concerned about the higher cost for skiers to come to our resort since we're a destination resort?
That exact issue has been brought up.
Yeah, that's a big one. I guess that's scope 3 emissions. So, users, it's a harder thing, obviously, for them to deal with. But what's the best way to deal with it? To make airlines, tickets more expensive in a way, is that having a federal price on carbon would help to make the airlines more cost efficient, more energy efficient, in terms of, so I think from a ski resort or anything that is reliant on travel to get people there, that it would actually support, their desire to have climate action, but also keep their business going. So the point is, the ski areas are already having to produce more snow. They're already having to pay higher insurance costs because of wildfires. And, a lot of ski areas are in conservative areas, right? And they're concerned about, as all companies are, they want to make sure that their customers, who are Republicans and Democrats, that the idea that it's a bipartisan solution is a really appealing one. Okay. So in terms of when you're actually going into a meeting, like with a member of Congress, there'll be quick introductions, time check. We talked about appreciation, a short introduction of what PCL is, and then be able to have a discussion. Want to have as much time as possible to discussion to learn about what they're doing. Hopefully you'll know a little bit, but ask them what's their view on climate action. Where does climate action and climate advocacy fit in their overall lobbying and their priorities? What legislation would they like to see implemented, and how have they thought about, and what do they think of carbon pricing? Okay. So I'm going to jump in and show you an example. This is actually a very condensed video of 5 minutes of meeting with a solar company and what that could look like. And then I think we'll have enough time to kind of go in and do a quick role play ourselves. Can you guys hear this?
No, we have no sound on our end.
I think I'm gonna have to go out and share again. Share my screen. You guys give me a thumbs up if you hear sound.
Hey, good morning, Bruce.
Pretty good.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing good, as best you can
Great.
these days.
A lot of stuff going on. Randy and I are just delighted that you have time to meet with us today, so thank you. In fact, just to make sure, what's your time frame like?
I got about a half an hour.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Well, I got to say straight off, I'm one happy customer. Thank you for the solar panels. Your crew did an excellent job, and we're loving them. So thank
Great. I'll let them know.
Please do. Okay, so as you know, we're here to talk to you about Citizens Climate Lobby and the work that we do, the bipartisan work that we do. And we're, again, just really glad for your time today.
Sure.
Did you get a chance to look at the information we sent along, Bruce?
I did. I just skimmed over it, though. I'd like
Okay.
a recap, if you could.
Oh yeah, happy to. So as Sarah said, we're part of Citizens Climate Lobby. We're volunteers, and there's over 200,000 of us in the US. And we have local chapters in every congressional district. And as Sarah mentioned, we are working on bipartisan to raise bipartisan support for climate action. So we're meeting with every member of Congress 3 to 4 times a year. And we have been instrumental and are engaged in getting federal carbon pricing passed, specifically a bill that's now introduced in the House called the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. And the 3 tenets of that are putting a steadily rising price on fossil fuels at the source, taking all that money and giving it back equally to every US citizen on a monthly basis, and having a border carbon adjustment to make sure that US businesses are competitive. And also, I think even more importantly, or equally importantly, is to encourage other countries to enact similar policies.
Yeah.
So we believe this overall framework is both, it will be good for your business and good for the economy as a whole. It will grow jobs, it will lower pollution, which is great for our health, and it's great for the environment in that it will help get us on track to meet what scientists are telling us is essential in terms of lowering greenhouse gas emissions.
As a business person, Bruce, and the industry that you're in, the carbon-free industry, it's really important to understand that this is a market-based solution. Randy and I both know that you worked on some cap and trade policy, and so wondering if you have
Yeah, it's just in a nutshell, why do you like carbon fee and dividend better than cap and trade?
Well, most importantly, it's equitable and it's transparent. It's a simple solution. It's a market-based solution, and it works across the board.
Yeah, gasoline as well as power plants, I understand.
Exactly.
All right, that sounds good. So I'm interested in my partner. I will talk to my partner about this, and if she goes along with it, then we'd like to be able to help you. What would that look like?
Well, you have a lot of options. You can talk to your employees. You can talk to your colleagues, especially since you're in the carbon-free industry. They're a significant voice as well. And you can meet with us, with your members of Congress to support this bill. And what would be really great is if you went ahead and considered signing an endorsement for the act. I believe we sent over a link to the carbon-free declaration. You should find it there somewhere.
Yeah.
To you again if you can't find it. But you know, having your support and others in your industry put your signature on to this declaration would be really important.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, do I get a commission on any referrals?
Absolutely, of course.
That's the way it works. Well, boy, I really appreciate the time you're spending on this. I've really got to go now. if I have any more questions, should I get in touch with you or?
Please do, and we'll make sure to follow up with you as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I'm really
happy to meet again. Happy to meet with you and your with your partners or employees or however we can, whatever we can do to support. We're here.
Yeah, well, considering the dark skies that we've got out there, I really appreciate all the work that you folks have put into this over the years, and keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And we're looking forward to working with you too.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks.
Okay, well, with that, I know we're coming to an end pretty quickly. So I'm going to kind of zip forward and take some questions from you guys. And here's my email, and happy to answer any questions and talk more directly or talk with your teams directly, whatever we can do to support your efforts. So just want to open it up for some questions now.
All right. So how much time would you say someone like me would have to commit to be involved with BCL?
We have people like myself that are, I'm probably spending 20 hours a week here. And then we have people that just say, I'm going to focus on this one company and I'm going to talk to them. And that's fine. So it can be a little or it can be a lot, as anything CCL can be, or something in between. And it can also be, you know, if you want to talk to companies, that's great. If you'd rather be behind the scenes, working with our marketing team, putting together newsletters, things like that, and our website and things like that, would love to have it. If you're interested in data and doing research on companies, so there's all different pieces that can be put in. You don't necessarily have to be an ex-executive or an executive. You can be a teacher or a nurse, or it can be anything, and we can find a place either in your chapter or with us on a national level.
Okay. We will make this the last question here. Can you comment on the reluctance of the solar industry to support the fee and dividend?
No, it sounds kind of like that you may know, whoever asked the question may know a little more than I do. I personally haven't been involved in directly with the solar industry other than as a solar customer. And I'm happy to connect you with Bruce Hagan and the group, the electricity team, and can kind of work through their answers to that. So I don't know if it's a regulatory pause. I don't know what issue you've come up against.
Okay. Randy, thank you so much. So this is why, you know, it's important to engage with business on climate action. So that was a wonderful presentation. So as we end the conference today, I'd like to extend my congratulations to the Flagstaff Citizens Climate Lobby chapter for hosting this amazing first ever online Mountain West Conference this year. Everyone, thank you for joining us, and keep building political will for a livable planet. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, everybody.